Now you will find a hadith in the book of Muslim, Sahih Muslim. Until today there is a hadith. A man asked the Prophet ﷺ, where is my father? He had become Muslim. His dad died as a mushrik, as a polytheist. And he came to the Prophet. He asked him, where is my father? According to Muslim, you know what the Prophet answered? The Prophet told him, Inna abi wa abaka fin nar. Both our parents, my dad, your dad, they're in hell. They're burning in hell. The Prophet says that according to Sahih Muslim. And this is considered one of the most authentic Sunni books. We have a problem here. Is this how we honor the Prophet? Is this our love and respect for Rasulullah, the greatest messenger of God?
What's the hadith number?
I can give you the page number because different versions. In the group, I can send you the reference. The Prophet tells him, don't worry, my dad's also burning in hell, not just your dad. Is that even how a prophet talks? If someone comes and asks about their parents, the Prophet, when you say that to someone, you just destroy them, you demoralize them. The Prophet didn't have such character. Even if his dad was in hell, the Prophet's not going to say this in front of others and make him feel hurt. In fact, there's a verse in the Qur'an. Some of these people came and asked, what happened to our ancestors from the mushrikeen? You know what the Qur'an says? It doesn't give them the answer. لا تسألوا عن أشياء إن تبد لكم تسؤكم. Allah says, don't ask these questions that when you'll get the answer, it'll be upsetting. Even God refused to answer. When they asked about their ancestors, the mushrikeen, Allah said, just be quiet, don't ask. So the Prophet is going to tell him, oh, my dad's burning in hell just like your dad's burning in hell. This is unacceptable. Unfortunately, we have such hadiths in our books. How they found their way into our books, God knows. So this hadith contradicts the proofs that we talked about, that the parents and the grandparents of the Prophet are pure. Number two, this hadith in Muslim, it's narrated by Hammad ibn Salama. From Thabit, from Anas. There's another version of the hadith which is narrated by Muammar, a narrator by the name of Muammar, not Muammar Gaddafi, another Muammar at the time of those early Muslims. Now, according to the version that Muammar narrates, the Prophet does not say, my father and your... He mentions the same story that happened, but he does not mention the statement, my father and your father are in hell. And the scholars of biography, they say that Muammar was more trustworthy than Hammad. He was more trustworthy. Hammad wasn't that trustworthy. So the narration of Hammad has an issue. Maybe it was inserted. Muammar was more precise and more trustworthy. He doesn't mention this line. Where did Hammad bring this line from? So it tells you that some forgery happened there when it came to some of these hadiths.
Are both in Sahih Muslim? Or are both hadiths in the same?
No, the second one, Muammar, is found in other sources, but it's also more authentic. Muslim, he narrates this.
No.
Furthermore, the majority of Sunni scholars, they believe that those who died in the Fatrah, the Fatrah is an era in which you did not have a known universal messenger. It's the 500 years between Jesus ﷺ and the Prophet. We call this the what? The Fatrah. Many Sunni scholars believe if someone dies in the Fatrah, even if they die as pagans, unbelievers, because there was no apparent messenger, right? God forgave them and they did not go to hell. Now these ancestors of the Prophet, when did they die? Before Islam, right? I mean, Abdullah, the father of the Prophet, he died before Islam. So he died in the Fatrah. So according to your beliefs, those who die in that era should not go to hell. Right? Except if someone is a criminal and they committed acts of injustice and they killed people, that's a different issue. None of the grandfathers of the Prophet did that. But just because someone had the wrong belief, according to Sunni scholars, the majority of them, they say they did not go to hell. So how does Muslims say that the father of the Prophet is in hell? Didn't he die in the Fatrah? So that's another clue, piece of evidence that this hadith is forged. It's not correct. Now the question, the very important question is, by the way, interestingly, just to finish that, some scholars, Sunni scholars found this, okay, this is too much. The Prophet saying my own dad is in hell. So they said when he said Abi, my dad, he meant his uncle Abu Talib. His uncle Abu Talib, the father of Imam Ali. He meant him, he is in hell. Subhanallah. If you want to use the word uncle and not father, the Qur'an clearly states Abu Lahab is in hell. Right? Tabbat yada Abi Lahabin wa tab. Sayasla naran. The Qur'an says Abu Lahab will go to hell. They left Abu Lahab, but they stuck to Abu Talib. You see that? Subhanallah. It shows you there's a lot of politics in these hadiths. Now the important question, yes.
So I have two questions. The reason for saying that Prophet's father was in hell and for forging this hadith, is it to raise the status of the caliphs after the Prophet, or maybe bring down Prophet to their status?
This is what I'll be mentioning right now.
And the second question was, we said the similar tradition was narrated by Muhammad, but it doesn't show the reply of the Prophet, what Prophet replied.
No, it shows the story and what the Prophet said. The Prophet was talking to that man, but he never said, my father is in hell. He does not mention that statement that my dad and your dad are in hell. The Prophet says something else in that hadith. He gives him a different reply, which tells you there's some discrepancy here. You know, why didn't Muammar, who's more reliable and trustworthy, say this sentence? Tells you there's a discrepancy here. Now the Sunnis, they accept that other hadith of Muammar, and they also accept these. We're saying this is just a clue that shows you there's some discrepancy. Now the question is, why did they forge these hadiths about the Prophet's grandparents being kafir? Why? Several reasons. One of them, most of the companions, if not all, except Imam Ali and the Prophet, their fathers and grandfathers were what?
Pagans.
They were pagans. And they wanted to not give special status to Ahlul Bayt by saying their grandfathers are pure and our grandfathers were pagans, so they forged these hadith. Bani Umayyah, for example, Bani Umayyah, when they came to power, Muawiyah, Yazid and these others, they wanted to be at par with Bani Hashim and the Ahlul Bayt. You know, people would tell them, look, your ancestors, you don't have that pure ancestry. Your grandfathers were pagans. Why are you representing the Prophet, this pure family? They would say, no, the Prophet also had grandfathers who were pagans. But the most important point has to do with Imam Ali alayhi salam. Muawiyah, when he would curse Imam Ali on the pulpit, he would spread these false rumors and lies that Imam Ali was a mushrik. He was a pagan. His father was a pagan, Abu Talib, and his grandfathers were pagan. Their initial intent was to strike the ancestors of Imam Ali, but because Imam Ali and the Prophet have the same ancestors because they were cousins, they also struck the Prophet. So the real reason was to attack Imam Ali alayhi salam. Because what they did, Bani Umayyah, Muawiyah, any virtue that Imam Ali had, they wanted to erase it and change it. Even his grandfathers being pure. Now when you strike the ancestors of Imam Ali, automatically you strike the ancestors of the Prophet. Because they have the same grandfathers. So there is a political motive that we see in these hadiths.